Hello, we're here with Pranshu. You're a junior in college, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so how's your day been?
my day's been good.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to interview you is because we're doing a research project on um, students collaborating in shared spaces such as apartments and rooms or like lounges or just shared study spaces, right?
Yeah.
And we just want to research that. And I know you've had a lot of experience in group projects as a computer science major.
Yeah.
So I'll have you answer some of these questions, and we'll see what we can do with your input.
Yeah. Let's run it.
Yeah. So what types of study spaces are most commonly used for collaboration in your experience?
So my experience as like a CS major, typically like a group project of like 3 to 4 people. For example, right now my mobile systems class, it's me and 3 other students, and we'd either communicate over text or we get on like a call, or we meet during class and we all collaborate together.
Yeah. In your experiences, what are some common like spaces like lounges? We're not studying libraries, but we're studying lounges.
Okay.
Like coffee shops, like just student centers or like apartments. Like, have you had experience working with others in those?
Yeah, I've definitely had experience with lounges, but it was mainly freshman year.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it would probably be an apartment. Like you've seen my friend come over for working on a project that we have together. I think an apartment's good because we're all comfortable. It's just a living space. There's amenities around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bouncing off of that, how do students physically arrange themselves in these spaces during collaborative sessions?
Yeah, so I think in at least the projects I've been part of, if we're all just like in a line, you can't really like see and talk to each other. So if you were to arrange yourself, not necessarily in a circle, but in a way you can at least clearly see every other member. A circle would be most optimal. If you have like a table in the middle, you can all like look at each other. Much easier to emotionally connect with others and bounce off ideas.
Yeah, for sure. That's very valuable. How do students manage distractions or interruptions in shared spaces, like lounges or apartments?
Yeah, so if you take a lounge, for example, there's obviously going to be like a lot of other people. Depends what kind of lounge it is, but like freshman year, it's not the best place to do work. There's a lot of commotion going on. So just avoiding that if you really need to lock in, that would be a good idea. And if you're in like an apartment, it's mostly a lot calmer.
Yeah, perhaps like renting out a room. Like
Yeah.
those rooms you can rent out.
Yeah. And like schedule them at libraries. I've done that before a couple times.
Or like study lounges,
Yeah.
Yeah. How does actually, are there any specific times when these places or the spaces are heavily used for collaboration? Like, based off your experience, what are some times that you're able to collaborate with?
Yeah. So if it's like in a living space, I've done it all times in the day, but I'd say like just the middle of the day is most beneficial to me because we all want to just wind down or do whatever we like to do at night. So, and yeah, like late morning or like anytime in the afternoon, that's where we're most like focused in terms of our schoolwork at least. So that's like a time I would say.
Yeah. We're done with those type of questions. How about social interaction questions? What I have is, how do students divide tasks or responsibilities during group collaborations in these settings?
Yeah, so the main thing is you want to communicate it so that everyone is contributing their own part. Everyone has like not necessarily like an equal amount of work to do, but like everyone has an equal importance of their work to do. So like for example, with computer science projects, you're gonna have like multiple files being used in the same project, for example. So someone could work on like one class, for example, another person could work on like another class that like implements a bunch of classes. So what you want to do is like really like communicate how you go about doing that. Make sure everyone's on task.
Yeah, for sure. So I know in like group collaborative sessions, there's a lot of people around, and it's possible that you might disagree with someone. So how do students or you navigate conflicts or disagreements in a collaborative setting?
Yeah, for sure. So what you want to do is set aside the fact, or put on the table first, that this conflict is, well, hopefully it's not, a personal conflict. You all have the same goal of, getting an A on the project, right? So why people have different ideas is mainly because they think that the way they want to go about it would be most beneficial. So once you have that out of the way, you can take, maybe in this approach, the pros and cons of everyone's takes, and then you can like have a healthy debate about why you'd say your position is more beneficial. And the point of it is not that you're right. The point of it is you want to find whose take, if not multiple takes, would be most beneficial, because that's the end goal in the end, to have a successful project or goal or whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I feel like that's a really healthy way to navigate conflicts. I feel like a lot of people could listen to what you said. Um, yeah. Next question is, how do students decide who takes the lead in a collaborative project? I know it's good to have a leader sometimes
Yeah.
maybe it's not, but like,
Yeah.
if you do want to have a leader, how do you students decide in this collaborative setting?
Yeah, I like to. I haven't used this word before, but I feel like in place of a leader, a facilitator might be good. They just get the ball rolling. They're not necessarily the project manager. It might work in different groups where like a leader is more important, but at least where I've worked in, if you have someone that gets a ball rolling, and not someone that just manages people, but they're just like, all right, I think we should do this, and does everyone agree with me? They just facilitate, lead the discussion, instead of actually like being the boss of the project. So I feel like that sort of system works best, at least with me.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. That's great. On to like cultural and community questions. When you're in a group setting, like a lounge or an apartment, are there any unspoken rules or norms of behavior for these shared study spaces?
There's one that comes to mind, and it's what I've said before. I'll read it again. It's just no conflict. At least no conflict should be a personal conflict. Everyone's trying to have the same goal. So if you're debating, you're not necessarily trying to say that you're right. You're trying to weigh all the options and figure out what is best for everyone and for that project or that end goal to be successful. So I think that's something everyone should be going into.
Yeah, great. Another question I have is, what role does the sense of community play in motivating students to collaborate in these settings? Like you said, you've had experiences where you've just emailed other group members, not really meeting up with them in a shared collaborative space. And you've also had experiences with being in a shared collaborative space like an apartment or a lounge. Yeah. What does a sense of community in that latter option play in motivating students to get the job done as a group in a shared space? Yeah,
that's a good question. So immediately what I think of is I would say almost the whole student body itself is community, and you can further strengthen that community by having similar goals such as what majors you guys are, what other academic goals you have, what classes you're in. And I just feel like, because when you're in a group project, you're not necessarily just slapped together. You already are going to have some shared interests, which would already strengthen that community that you would have with each other. So just basically just the fact that you guys are students together, I think, already helped to serve, the community goal.
Yeah, great answer. Yeah, I know. In say you're in a group project or you want to study with someone in a shared collaborative space, how do students accommodate group members with differing schedules or priorities?
Yeah, for sure. So I know I've used all sorts of different approaches to this. It could be as simple as just, us putting into the group chat, just what time are you guys free? We'll all put a window in. but I've also gone more technical. I forgot when this was, but we used a site where it was like a shared calendar with all of us. I forgot what it was called, but we'd all put like all the windows of times were available, and then it would like shade that with like a green, and then the darker that green is, the more like overlap you would have with other group members, and then after everyone submitted their availabilities, you would take a look at that graph and then be like, all right, this time or this time here and this time there works best for all of us. So that's how one of the few ways I've gone about it.
Yeah, so you mentioned technology. That perfectly bounces off to our next group of questions, which is technological and interface questions. My first question is, how do students incorporate technology, just like the software that you used, or you said you used, into their collaborations?
Yeah, so like I said before, we just use one of, it's just like technology we found to help schedule ourselves. I think just the fact that technology, it's not like just something that's just very specific. There's a whole like variety in what you can use, and it cannot just be a website. It could be like a messaging service, or it could be like a tool such as like an API or an environment. Just sort of technological tools like that. There's a lot of variety, so the more you incorporate them, the more ways you can find out how to deal with certain.
Yeah, I was thinking more in the realm of like video calls.
Oh
share
yeah,
documents. No,
Yeah.
all good. No, like that. If that's what you use, that's what you use.
I mean, for like video calls, I don't think I've used like FaceTime.
Oh really?
Yeah, I've used Discord. I wouldn't say I'm like I'm an avid Discord user. I don't have an avid presence.
You sure look like you do.
You look like I do.
Yeah, I mean, share documents. You said.
Yeah, you can like share screens and like code.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll try to improve my physical appearance, so I'm not.
No, man. Just like Discord, I'm an avid Discord user as well. I mean, we all are.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
Can't connect with you there, but that's
no,
cool.
I moderate some Discords for some
Really?
some people.
Okay.
I think you just look like you do as well. So yeah. What challenges or do students face with technology in shared spaces, like connectivity issues, lack of outlets? Is that really a problem for you?
Not really. I feel like you'd only have issues with technology if you're like not very technologically like literate.
Yeah.
I feel like besides that, like people know what they're doing. At least for like computer science and related majors. If you're in other disciplines, you might not be as good with the technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Another question is, how do students use their, or actually, this is not a good question.
Okay.
How do let's move on to physical environment questions.
Okay.
Well, we got a little off topic on the technological questions, so we'll move on to physical environment.
Yeah.
How does lighting, noise level, and temperature affect collaboration in these spaces? You can start off with lighting.
If we can. Sorry. So yeah, no, like you want to be able to like see around, so you can't be too informal with like your environment. So you don't want to have like glaring lights everywhere, but at the same time, you don't want to work in the dark. That's just not conducive to a healthy work environment. So as long as it's like nice and ambient, that's it. So.
Noise level.
Yeah, same thing with that. It depends on how much you want to like focus in onto your project. If you're just like setting up, the goals for your project, not much time constraint there, then you'd be like a little noisier environment, like a library. Like the lower floors, there's more noise than the higher floors. If you really want to focus in, then probably want a much more quiet space.
Yeah. How about temperature?
Temperature, as long as it's not too cold or too hot.
Yeah, room temperature.
Yeah, room temperature is pretty cool temperature.
Yeah. What features of an environment of a shared space, like such as furniture, decor, support or hinder collaboration?
Yeah. I would say it depends on who you're with. If you're like know that you guys would be like fine with whatever surroundings in terms of like the visual surroundings, they probably won't care about like an album flag you might have, or like some other crazy decorations. But I think for furniture, that's much more important. If you have like something that's not comfortable, you're not gonna be able to focus as much. That's my bad. But if you have like a couch or something where you can focus but also be comfortable, I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah. Another question I have is, how do students adapt when a space is too crowded? Like they go to a coffee shop to work with their group members and it's too crowded, or otherwise less than ideal for collaboration.
If it's less than ideal but we can make it work, we'll tough it out. But if it's something that like a library, for example, that's like too crowded, I won't lie, we'll just like give up in that location, just find another spot. Our main goal is to like get the work done. It depends how much we want to get it done at this moment.
Yeah, for sure. And how does the availability of nearby amenities such as like coffee or like snacks or restrooms influence your students' choice of space for a collaborative project?
I would say if we're like working for a long time, then having like food near us would be pretty helpful. But if it's for like less than an hour, maybe water would be nice. But having a bathroom nearby might be enough. But I don't think our group really thinks about that. It just might like come accidentally with like a study spot we like that just so happens to have those amenities.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to behavior questions. How do students prepare for collaboration before arriving in these spaces?
I'd say just bring what you need to have. If you show up without your computer and you're doing a programming assignment, and people are gonna be like, "What are you doing, dude?" That's like, you gotta help us out here. As for behavior, just come in with like a positive mindset that you're ready to help. Just to leech off. Project groupmates.
Yeah. How do students maintain focus and productivity during collaboration with a group in these shared spaces?
Yeah, I've been with some group members. While they're like fine while actually working, they'll be easily like distracted by their phone. So if we like on my lead, sometimes I'll be like, all right guys, let's put our phones right here. We'll lock in. We'll get it done so much faster. And when we do, we get back on our phones or do whatever we want to do. And that's just the main distraction.
Yeah. So a similar question is like, sometimes you're doing these collaborative things with or study things with some friends, because like you might choose a friend as a partner, right?
Yeah.
So like once you get in these shared spaces, you might want to maybe like catch up or something.
Yeah.
How do students balance that socializing with productivity in these settings?
Yeah, I think you just gotta segment what you're gonna talk about. If you're gonna like catch up with a friend, then get that out of the way first, or save that for the end, or take little breaks in between. But just make sure that it's not getting like mixed in. You're not just working and messing around, because you're not gonna get any work done. Like I've been in a situation where me and like a friend are trying to get some work, but then we get like off topic on tangent real quick, and not much work gets done. So you gotta account for that.
Yeah, for sure. We're nearing the end of this interview. I just have some reflection and experience questions. If you could give us some experience, some like things from your experience, that'd be great. So first question I have is, what challenges or frustrations do students commonly encounter in these settings?
Yeah, I'd say like you kept talking about public spaces a lot, like a commotion around. So if you have someone that's just like a group nearby, say you're at one table, you guys are trying to lock in. There's another table that's just messing around, and that's like the only spot you can get to. That's like a pretty big frustration, especially if they're like really loud, and or if they're saying like just some like stuff that you're not really trying to hear. I think that's the main thing I think of.
Yeah, how do students generally feel about their experiences collaborating in these spaces, do you think?
I think people prefer to work in public spaces. I'm definitely in a mix. I don't really mind working wherever, as long as we can get our work done, and I'm reasonably comfortable. I have like nice lighting, temperature, and sounds around.
Yeah. So I think we've gotten a lot out of this interview from you. I really appreciate what you've given us here. yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. Thank you, Pranshu.
Do you have any more questions or any concerns?
No, not at all. Actually,
Okay.
I just appreciate you being here.
Of course, man. Always.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll see you some other time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this interview.
Alright. Go for it.